Hello everyone, I've come out into the countryside to do a little video and an update. Those of you that have been following the journey back to me is how I will talk about it. After like a whole lifetime of just, sucking it up and dealing with stuff, I have decided to have some therapy and to work through some things and to talk with others. And even though, as I said before, even though I've only had 2 sessions and we've actually put it on hold for a minute, just giving myself that time to let things come up that want to come up has been an absolutely fascinating journey, and I'm quite excited about what's coming and what's developing. Excuse me, the cars, like these cars. So when I first kind of just gave myself permission, as I said before, it was as if loads of these little subconscious worms were coming up and saying, finally, she's going to let us talk, she's finally releasing it. And if you think about all the parts of our subconscious mind that actually affect our waking day, they can cause us to have those limiting beliefs. They can cause us to act a certain way on repeat, and we're wondering, why can't I change that habitual thing that I do, even if it annoys you? It can be because there's a subconscious block or something that needs looking at. And it's funny how spirit speaks to me, because these worms kind of represent those subconscious neuro pathways that where something's happened that's caused me to behave even as an adult in a certain way. And last night, one of those little worms, or one of those little subconscious voices, wanted to come up and let me know that something needed looking at. And it did it in such a fascinating way. So I've been having this recurring dream of revisiting the first secondary school that I went to. I used to live in Dubai, and we moved to Wales in time for me to kind of transition from primary. So I was around 11 years old. And my first day at this school was like a Harry Potter typical English building. Even though I was in Wales, it felt very sort of grand, and there was this very grand tall library with all these old pictures of the headmasters past, and all in their black capes, and sort of a little bit haunting, And so for a few nights I found myself back in this memory of being in this hall, and it was at the beginning of the school day, which was our form room, and they obviously didn't have enough rooms throughout the building because the rest of the building didn't really look like that. But this one old library was for the first years, the newcomers. Maybe we were sent there to be scared, I don't know, but it was this very quiet, and we'd go there for like 15 minutes at the very beginning of the day to have your register taken, check that you're there, and you'd just sit there in silence. And I kept revisiting this like memory, and I said to my partner, I don't know why, but I keep revisiting the library when I was 11, and there's something very alluring and peaceful about it. And I remember we weren't allowed to talk. We had to just sort of sit there in pairs all down the side of the building, or the side of the room, and that the teacher would sit at the very front, sort of, making sure nobody spoke and everyone was nice and quiet. And but I kept revisiting this memory, and I was like, why do I keep finding myself back in that place in my mind? And then I kind of like just brushed it off. And then later, as the evening part carried on, one of these voices came up and said, the reason that you found solace in that room is because it was structured silence, and your life was quite an upheaval. A lot of traumatic things were going on. There was lots of things going on in your mind, and having somebody else tell you that you had to sit in that silence was actually a very welcome gift. And without, sort of disclosing my whole entire life, but I was then taken back to times in my childhood where it really wasn't quiet, and it was quite disturbing and disruptive and chaotic, and potentially slightly scary moments, And it was as if Spirit was saying, your mind often doesn't know how to find that quiet space, but you require it. But if it's not kind of like structured into your day, and if you don't give any room for that silence, these thoughts or these processing situations are not going to come about, because we can be too busy, filling our day with all sorts of things that we don't stop to think, we don't stop to ask ourselves, are we okay? And it was almost like, just in this one visual or this revisiting of this school hall, and more the feeling of how I felt when I was in that school hall. Everything was new. This was a new bunch of friends, a new place geographically. Everything was new. It was quite daunting, but that silence was really welcomed, and it just made me feel as if I was being held almost by the silence. And then, these thoughts were there explaining why we crave silence sometimes. And behind, if we allow ourselves the silence, perhaps we're afraid of the silence, because that's when we might have to look at things that we've been avoiding, perhaps. How important it is to have these moments of silence, to face ourselves and our thoughts. And then the process went on quite detailed about particular events where I hadn't felt very safe and I hadn't felt very calm in that silence, because there wasn't silence, it was like noise and these worms they're so funny. They're literally taking on this personality, and this one worm said, okay, we've looked at that now, and it was a bit deeper than what I've gone into, but we've looked at that now, and there are others of us, as you are well aware, because I've foreseen these worms coming up. And I was told how many worms there were, how many situations that I'm going to actually have to look at. But this is a process that I'm allowing myself to heal and to look at these things that need looking at. But once this process is finished, I'm going to come out the other side a completely different person. And I've had this second part confirmed, actually. The more I walk with Spirit, the more I know, the more I have to just tune into that intuitive voice that knows. And I'm gobsmacked at how accurately I'm being led. Like, you're going to this started by having a vision of a little splinter in my hand, and then I went to pull it out and realized it was a log, and that kind of oh goodness, the people driving around here are absolute nutcases. So it signified like me going to therapy and thinking it was little, but actually it brought up all this stuff, and I'm like, oh my goodness, all these worms that want to say something, or they want to be looked at. And but I had this beautiful vision of me in the universe, and I was this fish, something about fish, and I was doing work on me. So I was doing this work on me, and I was taking the time to put all the other things to the side and say, right, it's time for me to focus on me, and it's time for me to heal, and it's time for me to invest my energy in me. That's hard. That's a hard thing to do, especially when you're being pulled left, right and centre, and you've got all these multiple hats and things that you need to be doing. And I have to be conscious of that I don't want to be giving my own time away where I don't have the time. Look at this road. I came down here for some peace and quiet. Oh dear. Yeah, and in making that time for myself to heal, in putting that time aside, Spirit showed me this beautiful vision of me as a fish in the universe, and I was just swimming off by myself, doing my own thing. I'll show you where I am in a minute. I really thought this was a peaceful spot, but it's not. There's people everywhere, and it's crazy. So I was swimming in the universe, like like Nemo, just running off. And I was healing, and I was on my own, and I was in this space where I'd put myself like in the bubble of my own energy, and I was just kind of like focusing on what I knew I needed to do, because that's the direction that my soul was calling me to. And I was kind of like blissfully unaware, and then I saw this string coming out from behind me, and as I followed the string with my eyes, I was like, what? I had this big net behind me, huge, absolutely teeming with all these other fish that I was carrying along behind me. And they were all in this net, like fishers of men, but they were fish. And they were all multicolored and all different colors and like different shapes and sizes. And as I was changing, this electric current was going down the string into the net. Yeah, so the electric was like I was being electrified and I was transforming and changing, and it was having this electrical current that went down the net, and the whole net that was carrying all these fish behind me that were like following me, they were all having an electric shock, and they were experiencing the healing that I was doing on myself. It was having a direct effect on them. And I was thinking how we're not just singular units, we are of one, right? We're one. And if somebody makes a change, you know, that you're going to feel that change in the dynamic of a relationship, and even in how that I perhaps speak and how I behave from a healed perspective, from a more conscious perspective. It's going to have a direct effect on those that are in relationship with me or in friendship with me. And it was beautiful. So I guess in a sense what I'm trying to say in this video is allow yourself, if you feel the call, to go and spend some time in solitude. Or not, I'm saying hide away in it or go to I'm still doing stuff, I'm still going to work, I'm still doing stuff. But I've given myself that time and space to document my dreams and to spend time analysing what's going on and going introverted, introspected into, you know, areas that need looking at. And I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not selfish to want to better yourself or to get healthier in your mind and in your spirit and in your body. It's not selfish, and in doing so you're going to have a direct effect on others around you. You might inspire others to go and get therapy, or, you know, change their diet, or think more about themselves and to love themselves. And that's my message for today. Love you.